So, Republican bigot Blake Masters had to go and scrub his completely idiotic abortion stance on his webpage just the other day. But he wants to make sure that you know he is an actual Republican. So what does he do? He responds to the Associated Press announcing that the leadership of the Federal Reserve has become its most diverse ever. There are more females, blacks, and gay officials contributing to the central bank's interest rate decisions than at any time in its 109-year history. Now, he responds to this with standard Republican bigotry. Finally, a compelling explanation for why our economy is doing so well. Does he actually believe that Biden is doing a great job? Of course not. He was allowed to lie to the media and say that he thought the National Personhood Bill would actually allow abortions. Yes, that is the stupidity that the media allows him to get away with. But this is clearly bigoted and racist and sexist. He literally blames blacks, women, and gays for the economy. But the reality is, when they say we're having supply chain issues, the issues that we are currently having is because businesses, corporations, those that Republicans shill for, have screwed up and they can't keep up with demand. So, prices raise. And other businesses look and say, hey, we can price gouge now, and they raise prices more. The Fed is a horrible institution that has failed us at every single step. Now the Fed is saying very blatantly and very honestly for the first time that they plan on tanking the jobs market to control inflation, even though that is not what is actually causing inflation right now. But they are doing their best to screw over you because they're scared of what will happen. Yes, they will run the economy into the ground to return order and return the power to the rich, because that is all they know. So, Republicans have failed over and over again to prove election fraud because, let's face it, it doesn't happen. So DeSantis started his own private army to go search for people that committed election fraud. And exactly how has it been going? So, Florida passed Amendment 4, which should have restored voting rights to felons. But the Republicans didn't like, democracy, so they went in and made it as hard as possible for people to get their rights restored. And with Republicans' newly empowered private militia that's going out to arrest people, they arrested 20 men and women that didn't know they were allowed to vote. So this is how it happened. They went to apply for voting rights. The government official told them that they were allowed to vote. Told them where to vote. Said they could vote. And so they voted. The problem is, it's the state's responsibility to ensure who votes. So the states told these people that they were allowed to vote. The state should have stepped in and stopped them. The state has not gone through any work whatsoever to make it easy to figure out who is allowed to vote. They specifically don't want it. However, they did arrest 20 people. And the thing is, the law applies to any voter who casts a ballot knowing he or she is not a qualified elector. So the fact that they didn't actually know that they weren't allowed to vote means they're innocent. The state failed to do its job because the state doesn't want to do its job. DeSantis does not want felons voting. He wants to take away their voting rights because the Republican Party is about freedom. It's about punishing the other person because their voters feel like they're under attack, and they are, by Republicans. So Republicans have to punish people, have to trot people out as those that deserve less and deserve to be attacked, because that's what their base voters want, because they feel like they're under attack, so they must punish others. So this is malicious persecution. They're prosecuting people that the government told them they were allowed to vote. And the law says they must know that they are not allowed to vote. And so, why is he doing this? Why does DeSantis want to persecute these innocent people? It's very clear. Because if he scares the hell out of anyone that should have their right to vote restored, they might not vote. It's as simple as that. Scare those that would vote against you. And punish anyone that dared vote. Because Republicans cannot win when everybody votes. It never has happened. And frankly, they have to bend the scales further and further into their own favor because they have nothing that America wants. Now, Jim Jordan, the pedophile protector, the one that has not passed a single bill, co-sponsored a single bill that had passed or done anything for the United States other than sit on his ass and collect a paycheck. Jim Jordan, he posted on Twitter the other day, "In real America, you work hard, pay your bills, and provide for your family. Isn't that how it should be?" How it should be. How it should be with people like Jim Jordan getting nowhere near levers of power. The fact that the media allows them to get away with covering up the molestation of children and still get into office is not how America should be. In real America, Democrats eliminate crime, while Republicans don't. In real America, blue states pay for the welfare of red states because Republicans have ran their states so far into the ground. They are welfare queens, leeches on this great country. When blue states, real America, we educate kids so they're not so brain dead stupid, they would vote for a pedophile protector like Jim Jordan. No, in blue states, in real America, we're not scared of books. We don't have to burn books. In a day and age where all the books are PDF available on computers, how immensely stupid are these people that they think burning books will solve their problem? How about in real America, we have better health care that, provides for mental illness, which seems Jim Jordan really needs. In real America, we don't look the other way when doctors are molesting children just because he's too lazy to do his damn job. And in real America, we don't try to overthrow the country because you lost an election. In real America, people like Jim Jordan do not get to stay in Congress, nor does he get to go on TV over and over again. because that's how America should be. We are now getting to the point that once again the Republicans who are least into the cult are breaking away. We have had this for the last 20 years, but every single time a Republican breaks free from the cult, what he says is treated like gold, even though Democrats have been saying this for generations. So Adam Kinzinger is, yes, looking into the January 6th, but he should not be considered a hero. He should be asked over and over again why he supported this traitorous party for so long. Now, in his own words, let's take a look at this. Now you've seen these Republicans go. There is absolutely no exception, because somehow in the Republican Party, the crueler you are, the more likely you are to win a primary. Who has been saying that for decades? Democrats. Because Republicans have gone crueler each and every election. Remember compassionate conservatism? Yeah, they just tossed compassion in front of it, while they continued with the same policies that damaged the United States since Reagan. Every single Republican runs the government into the ground because they have this idea that the government can't do anything. And so to prove themselves right, they run the government into the ground. Because the crueler you are, the more damage you do to other people, the more the Republican base likes you, because they're under attack by Republicans, and they've been so brainwashed that they don't realize it. And so when Republicans be cruel to the entire United States, Republicans are like, yes, this is exactly what we want, because that is exactly what they want. They want cruelty. They don't care about reason or logic or what's best for the United States. But the media has to pretend that way because they serve the corporate interests, which Republicans serve. And that is exactly why the Republicans kick their own voters in the face time and time again. Because Republicans serve the rich, not their base. Do you remember a few months back where a United States judge ruled that employees were not allowed to quit and forced them to stay at a job that they didn't want to be at? Well, neoliberals have been in charge way too long. And this is where it's going. Instead of the typical slave labor that you have to do because you're a wage slave. Say that again. You're a wage slave. You must work or you'll starve to death. Now, it's not just the United States that has this issue. Canada does too. Now, the Labor Board order has come through and been posted. It says, for the last 3 days, scaffolders have refused to work overtime beyond their 10-hour shift at Sucker Base plant site and have refused to accept overtime shift offered for the weekend on both night and day shifts. We have been patient and given your union an opportunity to convince you that this coordinated refusal constitutes an illegal strike and that you may face consequences as a result. Obviously, this has not worked. So they went to the Labor Board and asked them to declare it a legal strike for people not working overtime. Now, they can toss these people in jail if they don't work voluntarily overtime. sounds like slavery. The business wants something, and so the business gets it. This is the problem. What evidence have they provided that it is an organized refusal to work overtime? Maybe people in a dangerous profession don't want to be up on scaffolding after 10 hours where they're tired and exhausted and might fall to their death. So it goes on. Today we appeared in front of the Labor Relations Board. The board has issued an order finding that scaffolding have threatened a strike and have engaged in a strike or job action by coordinated refusal to work overtime. The board is directing all such activities cease and that employees are prohibited from the coordinating efforts to refuse overtime in order to secure incentives. The board ruled that refusing to work voluntarily overtime is an unlawful strike and in violation of the Labor Relations Code when it is done, as here, by a group of employees acting together. A copy of this order will be circulated today to our locations at Succor and Sunkrud and will be posted on these sites. How long does neoliberals have to stay in charge before we understand that they only see us as slaves? That we work and die to support the rich? But what punishments are there other than just jail, disciplinary, or termination of employment for this conduct? A hiring ban for those that engage in this activity, blacklisting them, legal actions against striking employees for all damage caused by the illegal strike. You can be personally liable for added production costs and penalties owing to owner or even the loss of the contract with our client. Contempt of court proceedings for violation of the order entered in this court, the possibility of fines from the court and jail, not to mention, I just said that the company will sue you and make you pay for them paying other people. So you work for the company and you work whatever overtime they decide, or they're going to take all the money that you have. And, might consider the owner a site ban, so you can't work on the site at all. So, scaffolders in Canada can be jailed for refusal working overtime. They can take every dime that you have, all because you don't work voluntarily overtime. Now, this is the reason why we need stronger workers' laws. The fact that corporations brag about breaking unions, that should be incentive to every single American to stand with the unions, to fund them, because unions gave us our 8-hour workday. It gave us weekends. It eliminated child labor. And without them, corporations and businesses will go back to pushing our wages down and demanding more and more out of us until we die. Neoliberals can be in order to stay in a job in the U.S. How exactly should anyone feel about these? Let's talk about how MSNBC is nothing more than Republican propaganda. Kurt Bardella, former Breitbart staffer and man who has lost every single intelligence check he has ever made, worked tirelessly for Republicans and then swapped sides only to continue to tell Democrats they should do Republican policies. He is a constant MSNBC contributor. He is always on there to tell Democrats how they need to be more conservative. Let's be clear. The Republican Party, the MAGA Republicans, domestic terrorist cell operating in the U.S. That's what Bardella said. This is a group of people who have decided that it is acceptable to use violence and threats of violence to try to achieve their political needs. That it's okay to threaten law enforcement to stop them from doing their job. And any time you have people dedicated to using violent rhetoric to incite violence against other people, that's terrorism. That's what we're seeing from the Republican Party. Now, the fact is, he was a Republican. He worked for Breitbart. Blatant fake news all the time. And he now gets to go on MSNBC and pretend that he's reasonable. Kind of like Joe Scarswell, a former Republican, or the other half dozen Republicans who now claim that they've seen the light, but somehow remain deluded to believing Republican conspiracy theories. Republican policies. Yeah, that's it. Now, constantly we get these people, and they're treated by the media like they're someone we should listen to because they changed their mind. I'm sorry. If you change your mind, you should actually evaluate the conspiracy theories that you've been spouting. But no, they continue to tell us why they couldn't have become a Democrat because Democrats were so mean to Republicans. That's why they stayed a Republican, not because they're grifters. He wasn't able to see the delusions while working for Breitbart and the right. And now he still supports the same policies and wants to demand Democrats become more like his former cult. Constantly on MSNBC. How about another? Rick Wilson, co-founder of the Lincoln Project. You know, the one that puts out all those neat videos of skewering Republicans for all the stupid things and racist stuff that they do. That organization took in $80 million and spent $25 million on it on operating costs. That went into Rick Wilson's pocket. How many Democrats did he get to vote for the Democrat? None. How many Republicans? Well, also none. He keeps claiming that he knows how to run ads because he's running the same Republican ads, but for Democrats now. And this will get Republicans to vote for Democrats. But the data actually shows that, he's wrong. But MSNBC still brings him on to tell Democrats how to do their job. These people are just Republican grifters and found out that they can rip off the Democrats the exact same way they've been ripping off the Republicans. And MSNBC will contribute to these lies because, let's face it, MSNBC is just more Republican propaganda. Republicans have completely lost it. Check out this video.
All of you need to leave now! All of you need to go to the other side of the sidewalk right now!
Other side of the sidewalk. If you are a counter protester.
I'm not a protester, I live here.
Well, you are. You're wearing a fucking Blue Lives Matter flag. You're recording us. You need to be on the
I'm
other
wearing a
side.
what?
That shit on your head.
That's your American flag, motherfucker.
On the other side of the street. On the other side of the street.
He's asking you all to go.
On the other side.
The officer is asking you all to go. You need to get off the sidewalk right now! You need to go back to your side right now! I live here. I'm not going anywhere.
Okay.
I'm not going anywhere. You'll have to shoot me, motherfucker. That's friggin' weird. Oh, really? You're carrying a gun? What are you gonna do with it? Just getting your serial number. You need to go back to your side of the sidewalk. Go back to your town. Fuck off. Go back to your town. Get out of my fucking town. Get out of my town, motherfucker. This is my town. Get the fuck out. Get the fuck out. My town. Get out. So when you get out of my town, I'll go back across the street. So get the fuck out of my town.
It's not your town.
It's my town, bitch.
No, it's not. If you're too, you get out.
Fuck you. I ain't going anywhere. I didn't tell you. Did I fucking tell you to leave the town?
Other side. Other side.
Get back up.
Protesters need to go to the other
Protesters
side.
go over there. You're in the
They
wrong
just
spot.
separated us. You need to go back to the other
Cops
side.
just told us that y'all have to be over there.
You can't be in people's faces yelling at people. You need to go back to the other side. Go back to the other side. Ma'am, if you're protesting, you need to go back to the other side.
No, I'm just hanging out in my town.
You need to go back to the
Just
other
hanging out in my
side.
town.
Put your phone down. You need to go back to the
Yeah.
other side.
Then you're protesting. So get over there.
Ma'am, you can't be over here instigating. You need to go back to the other side.
Nobody's instigating. This is instigation. You want to come out here and threaten our
Ma'am,
community?
you were yelling at people.
I live here
a second ago.
too.
You need to go back to the other
I live
side.
here too.
Ma'am, go back to
I can't wait for you to move.
I'm not moving.
Yeah, get the fuck out of here.
I am going to. You see, you're outnumbered. Your ways are going downtown.
Well, I'm a teacher at Keller ISD, and they've taken over our school board, and they're trying to pull any LGBTQ book off of the shelves of the library, anything about marginalized peoples at all. And their goal is to shut down critical thought. It really is. They're fear mongering. They don't even know what they don't know.
I
So-
bet none of them have ever been to a drag show before.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Like pure entertainment, and it's been in the culture. Like, it's Saturday Night Live, Bugs Bunny. Like, we've been watching drag shows as comedy and as expression for forever. I mean,
They just want to hate.
that's all that they have. I know a lot of these people are teachers from our district, just fighting for the rights for these students to be able to learn and have access to material that
Thank you.
represents them. It's
Thank you so much.
Well,
I mean, someone needs to do
I
it.
mean, it's going to take a village, but we're doing our best. And I've seen lots of educators, and the opposition was trolling, like digging to find educators who had said that they were coming to this. So a lot of us had to, take our invitation down. They're just
Trying to scare you out of it and intimidate you.
right. And our students, it's preposterous. I teach middle school. I have several non-binary students. And whether or not they intend to remain non-binary or whether or not they're exploring gender,
It's up to them.
it's up to them, and it's not a problem. Like, where is the problem? Where's the problem? The school board meetings lately at the bigger districts around here have been contentious.
Well, I
Crazy.
bet. I believe it. It's just a back and forth battle.
It's a culture war. They piped up, they dreamed it up.
Roanoke, Texas, a family-friendly show, brings out Republican protesters. But what they experience is Antifa clad in the same Republican gear, and they have a truly fit over Democrats showing up in military gear, just like Republicans. Let's see. On 8/28, about 24 Christian fascists, including Proud Boys and militia, came to attack a drag bunch in Roanoke, Texas. Although the bash looked and acted ridiculous, it's important to expose the extreme violence and threat the community was attacked on that day. Yes, Republican fascists showed up in military gear to threaten drag performers, because that has been what they have been doing for decades. Show up in force, carry their gun, and threaten anyone that they're scared. And they're running scared too. Because when you stand up to bullies, they have no idea what to do. Now, another posting. Good thread on a drag bunch event in Texas. Proud Boys et al. Showed up to threaten people, and a huge community response drowned them out. Texas activists has constantly used open carry arms to act as a visible deterrent to the right. Yeah. If Democrats showed up with guns at every single protest, I guarantee you the Republicans would run scared when Ashley Babbitt was shot in the head for being a traitor to the United States. You've seen every other Republican at that moment back off because they realized that, hey, cops might actually shoot us for trying to overthrow the United States. Now, if the other cops did the exact same thing, shot a couple, traitors to the United States, they would have never pushed past the cops. They only pushed past the cops because they realized they can get away with it. And as soon as Republicans realize they no longer can get away with threatening Democrats, they will go back into their racist little hole and hide for the next time they believe that they can attack the United States. So if you like those videos, please help. The YouTube algorithm is horribly biased against, progressives. And the Republicans have massive amounts of money just to buy it off. So every time you like, every time you put a comment down below, helps us out. So like, subscribe, and if you really want to help the environment, down below is a link to a GoFundMe page where it has a brand new power generation that is 0% carbon emission and one of the cheapest productions of electricity the world has ever had. So go down, help us out.